Broadcasting alive from the Green Room Studios in Nashville, Tennessee, it's the At Home Show with Josh Carey and David Bates, celebrating 25 years of home and garden wisdom. Without further ado, your hosts, Josh Carey and David Bates.
Hey there. Welcome in, everybody. It's the At Home Show. It's going to be It's going to be a kind of a mellow show today, I have a feeling. We might get exciting.
We're getting off to a slightly damp start.
Well,
it's all good.
Moist is good. Got the water bill's going to be less today than it was last little bit.
It may be nil today, but that's okay. We're going to get some rain this morning, and
but you know what? It's the At Home Show. It comes to you alive from the Green Room Studios here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center every Saturday morning at 0800 Central Time. So we're here for you. Got everybody in studio. So
exactly right.
We'll be going through it here in a minute. So, but it's kind of ease into the day, David Bates, because it's moist.
And that's a good thing.
Okay.
Particularly when I can't get my browser to come up. So we'll just talk here for a moment and get that to see if I can get the thing to act correctly, and it will in a moment. But we are expecting rain for the early part of the day.
Yes.
And it will be ending probably by 10 or 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
The good thing about it, if you come out to see us at Bates Nursery and Garden Center, we have an extensively connected, covered area.
Yep.
Known by the employees here as the Batestrium, which
yes, it is.
I kind of like that name, and so we are quite glad to have
we're glad to have that,
and glad to have the ability to provide a shopping experience that makes some accommodation for inclement weather. So there's that.
Kind of like the old Hickory Hollow Mall. You can walk just about from one end to the other.
Yeah, that is true.
Just a little bit smaller.
No, not really. I mean, if you think about it, but you get the total square footage, you multiply that out and but the selection is much better here than it ever was at Hickory Hollow.
Hickory Hollow Mall, like a lot of the malls, are somewhat relics of the past, and I cannot get this to function. Well, maybe that did it.
Okay. Maybe that did do it.
I didn't.
It's raining, folks.
Yeah, it's raining. It's going to rain all morning long. But after today, the temperatures will stay into the 80-degree range, which is throughout the remaining part of the week, and we're grateful for that because it's going to be really wonderfully, seasonably mild conditions that will
or mildly seasonable.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's springtime, and we've been fortunate to get to have a nice spring this year. And we're going to be talking about things like serviceberry today because Adam Chapman made his award-winning. I guess we're probably the only place who awards the award, but his serviceberry cobbler, he elected to go with cobbler instead of muffins this time. So
looked like pound cake on his Facebook page.
Well, it's.
I just tried it. It's really great.
I mean, he got 2 gallons of that off of his
one berry
off of his picky. Yeah, he said if he had a taller ladder, he could probably get a third one. So anyway, great weather for that. Great weather for gardening, whether it's sun or shade. It matters not. We've got you covered here on the At Home Show, and we're going to be talking about that. I will say that we, maybe at some point I'll get my precipitation map and all that up. I'll continue to work on that as we go through the program. We won't stall any more on that.
Sure, we will.
Josh.
Okay.
Oh no, we're not. No, we're not. We're going to move along with things, and we're going to welcome in our cohorts in our little escapade here. Caroline Gant, Austin Lowen. Good morning, guys. Great to see you both today.
Good morning.
Yeah, so did you guys get some of the cobbler this morning?
Not yet.
No, I'm still on coffee.
Well, I'm just hoping that there's still some there when we get off the air. So
don't make us nervous. I might just disappear.
You could open the radio up and just make him call and make him bring him some. Bring us some.
That's true.
That's true.
deliver some to the green room.
Yeah, we'll see how we can go without having to resort to that. But anyway, great to see all today, and I'm sure we have people who have questions regarding their lawns and their landscape and their gardens, and there's always a lot of things to consider. So without further ado, what you got, guys?
We have a lot of questions today, but let's start with some Boxwood questions. So we got 2 questions. They are really the only questions we got about the freeze. 40-plus-year-old boxwoods that are still turning brown. They say branch by branch. And then another one asking basically how to cut them, how to make them look better. Do they cut the dead stuff out? Do they cut it all back? So, Austin, I know you love talking about boxwood, so let's talk about it.
All right. So I think we need to all talk about this together because I don't...
Let's do this together.
It takes a village, Austin.
It does.
That's right, to raise a boxwood.
Yes.
Well, big boxwoods, they...
And small ones.
They
like Austin's.
have so much foliage that's typically really, really tight. And whenever you have little brown chunks in them, which is I'm seeing and it's happening a lot, it's like, what do you do with that? If you cut it out, you're going to be left with a hole, which is not the end of the world for a plant. A plant doesn't care what it looks like as long as it's got leaves. It's just what we see it as. If it's not full and green all the way around, then we think it looks somewhat ugly. And I get that, but what are you going to do with those dead chunks? Do you want to see brown in the shrub or do you want to see a hole in the shrub? And either way, the plant, like I said, the plant doesn't care. You can keep that brown in there if you want, or you can take it out. I would simply take it out, try to take out those chunks, and it will be left with a little bit of a hole there. But it will fill back in around that as time goes on. But that's the key, is time. And it's like a lot of time for boxwoods because they are pretty slow to grow. So it's a good question. Boxwoods are probably the hardest one this year because, with like the hollies and such or the laurels, whatever, we can cut all those back and watch new stuff form from the base and come up and be good. Boxwoods are a little different. They're not always like that. And the boxwoods didn't necessarily suffer 100%. They suffered, 40% of the plant or whatever. So they've been tricky. It's been the hardest one for me to kind of talk about. And I'm no different. I've got them as well. As y'all know, my Justin Browers still look dead. So
nothing.
There you go.
Nothing yet.
I'll go ahead and
and of course,
stop that.
I've already talked fairly extensively about my American boxwoods. I had 5 4x4 boxwoods at my house that I removed completely. They had some life left on them. And here's where the difficulty in answering that question is that it's every case is a little bit different. If it only has, I'm going to say maybe 20 to 25% maximum dead in it, you might consider pruning those branches out and then do some work on the interior branches by taking either like twist ties or some like twine and pull the branches towards each other to fill the void that has been created by pruning those out. It's either do that or cut them back severely, and then it's going to take 3 years for them to come back. In the case of mine, I think I had 2 that might have come back had I had 3 years worth of patience left in me. But I did not, so I took them out, and really my landscape looked a whole lot better simply by just getting the dead ones out and to not leave them in there to go for a long time. So I haven't planted anything back in yet, but that's one of the things that boxwoods have been a major point of consternation. The laurels, on the other hand, people who left those in, they're seeing those start to come back out. So there's that. Unless you've got more comments.
So we got a dahlia question. My dahlias were eaten alive last year. Best thing to spray them with so they thrive this year.
What ate them?
Yeah.
It's a mystery.
Yes.
It was not typed in the box. But what would eat them?
Well, there's a number of bugs that
Do Japanese beetle bother them? Because
Yes.
I have trouble with those every year.
Yes, Japanese beetle.
They like
definitely.
everything.
They like
Yes,
everything.
they
They're
eat it
not too
all.
picky. There's a number of bugs that like dahlias. They're a very juicy leaf. I would assume they would taste good. I've never tried one, but they
Maybe you
look
should give
like
it a try
they
this
would.
year, and then
Maybe.
you can let us know.
We'll see. I'm not growing any
Confirm
at
it.
the moment.
Oh, wow.
What?
No, I'm not growing dahlias at the moment. I know.
I am.
Well, good.
Yeah.
What color?
Pink.
Pink.
Well, good.
Right in front of my Gomfrino.
Well, The thing about spraying stuff is that I don't really like to spray stuff until you necessarily, you have to. So if you watch your dahlias and they look pretty good and they don't have any holes in the leaves or anything and nothing's actually eating them, then don't do any spraying at the moment. If you wanted to, or if you start to see issues, then you can spray with, depending on what you have, you could spray with a number of different things. Permethrin, pyrethrins, there's a number of chemicals that are synthetic, that aren't necessarily organic, that really takes care of insects very, very well. But, whenever your plants are in bloom, bees are going to be visiting your flowers, and we don't necessarily want that. So, don't spray until you have to. But if you do, we've got a number of things you can come out and buy to take care of those pests. Best thing, though, obviously, and we talk about it every week, is the most organic approach is to pick off or pluck off any insects you may see, typically on the back sides of the leaves. A lot of caterpillars really like dahlias, so picking off caterpillars is really not all that hard. It's kind of sad, I guess, you picking them off and stomping on them to get rid of them.
Very sad.
But anytime you can do that, that's the most organic and the most effective way to get rid of an insect problem.
And you can be more selective. There may be some caterpillars that you just don't want to stomp.
Yes,
yeah.
What do you
definitely.
do? Squish
You gotta
them
know
with your
'em.
fingers?
Definitely.
Stomp resistant.
Yeah.
Hey, we can put the big board back up, Tyler, if you can get to that. It looks like my image is scrambled for the moment. I don't know why the camera would screw up on me, but I did get my weather back up here. So let's let everybody know 71 for the high today, and maybe 7/10 of an inch of rain. 80 degrees tomorrow, 82 Monday, 83, 84, 83. So it's really nice mixture of sun and clouds, except for Tuesday where it should be cloudy much of the day. We're going to we go and the magic of magic. Anyway, and as you see on the radar here, there's quite a lot of radar of rain coming through the area. It looks like the heaviest part of the precipitation is going to be south of Nashville. So those people who are viewing in the areas that are
the greater
south of
downtown business district in Petersburg is going to get slammed, it looks like.
Yep, it looks like that. So anyway, but everyone's going to get some rain, at least it would appear, all the way across the way. So there's that. So far today, let me get over to that map. We have received 2/10 of an inch of rain and 1.14 for the week and 429 for the month. So we're creeping up on 23 inches for the year, which means we're in really good shape weather-wise. So, and again, it is 67 degrees in the Music City. So now I got that out of the way. I don't know why my browser was stuck, but it was, and it's just like
you feel so much better.
I do feel better. I just couldn't get on a roll until I got the weather out of the way.
It didn't feel right.
He's a creature of habit.
No, I think we all are in some degree.
Are we?
I mean,
Definitely.
Maybe you're not, Josh. I've never known you to be habitual in anything. So,
son of a bitch.
be that as it may. By the way, and we failed to acknowledge Tyler Blankenship. Tyler, thank you for all you do this one.
That's why you disappeared on the camera. He has the
all
magic
you do this one. I
buttons
did not acknowledge him properly, so thank you, Tyler, for keeping us all on the air.
That's all right, David. I don't have the brain capacity to remind you, so we're okay.
You're doing great, everybody. All right, let's get a question in.
Okay.
I'd do it.
All right, so let's lead in with this one by saying, good morning, Miriam. This is from our good friend Miriam.
Hi, Miriam.
Hey, my muley grass died. Is there anything similar to replace it with, or should I just try it again?
Surprise, surprise, your muley grass died.
Oh my gosh.
It froze, huh?
Or it half died. No, Josh, it's not even about the cold all
They
that much.
just die. I planted
they do.
3 one year and all but 1 died.
I've had a lot of customers. When it's in and it's good, it's great. I've said this before. It's glorious. It is great when it's great. But most of the time it's not, unfortunately. I'm sorry, Miriam. You can certainly go back and try it again. If you do go back and try it again, try to add in either some like gravel or pine fines or something to mix in our heavier clay soils to make it light and loose. That's really the key with the muley grass. It needs that. We sell our expanded shell product here that's like little tiny rocks pretty much is what it looks like to you. If you mix that in with your soil, you can get a really good, well-drained scenario, and that's very, very helpful with muley grass. Is there anything similar to Mule Grass? No, there's not. I hate to say it, but there's nothing that's got those big pink plumes atop of green foliage, and nothing else that I can think of that really, does what Mule Grass does. There's plenty of other grasses that do very, very well,
Right.
but not with that pink color and just that puff of pink smoke, if you will. So, sorry, there's nothing that's similar. But, like I said, if you want to try again. Buy yourself a little 1 gallon. Don't go big. You don't have to go to a big 3-gallon grass or anything. Just buy you a little 1 gallon. Amend your soil very well. Make it well drained, and you should have better luck.
They're not really expensive either, are
They're
they?
not. You can get a little 1 gallon for like $14.99.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it again, Miriam.
Miriam, you got that?
My one that
Now-
latched in did great.
Now, what does make them expensive is the fact that they really look their best when you have a bunch of them in a group.
Bunch of 'em,
Because that little, one little grass is fairly insignificant on
not
its
a
own.
poof,
Where they are used best, there is a hotel not too far from here that has a banked area.
Wow.
That it's the most outstanding stand of muley grass I have ever seen. It is spectacular in the fall. So it's a great use of it. So whoever was the landscape architect on that really understood the use of it properly.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't draw any Bradford pear trees in, did he?
No,
That's the
Put
only
one
one
of
they
them in
can
there.
draw, though, right?
I don't think it gets drawn
It used to
anymore,
be the
Josh.
only one they could draw. I mean, I guess maybe the AI is
Not
gotten
anymore.
better.
Let's talk about English gardens,
Oh.
shall we?
Why
For
not?
English cottage gardens.
Oh.
Best plants for an English cottage vibe, full sun and mostly shade areas.
What?
Full sun and mostly shade.
I think, they have sun and then other parts that are
Probably a
mostly
front yard,
shade.
backyard, side yard, side
Sounds
yard.
like it.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Cottage Gardens. Here we go. First
So
off-
fun. Yes.
First off, you need boxwood. Got to.
Do you?
You got to.
Gotta have it.
You gotta have boxwood as your filler material. You gotta have hydrangeas in there. There's gotta be white somehow in a cottage garden for me. You have to have vines in there. So clematis is certainly something that you need to use in there. A little trellis behind your boxwoods or behind the hydrangeas. Something climbing up and being wispy and beautiful
That's
as
some
a
moss.
cottage garden.
Some
And then plenty
moss.
of, to me, like blues and purples in your perennial world. Oh, God.
Josh.
I hear myself.
That's me.
Tyler.
It's actually me.
Uh,
I had it turned down, but it turned itself back up.
Just real fast, Austin, you are describing one of my beds right now.
Am I?
Yeah, I nailed
Is it
it.
an English cottage garden?
I guess so.
You know what else should be in an English cottage garden?
Roses.
White roses. Good job,
I
Josh.
definitely don't have that.
Well, white roses are a must. Also,
Not in that
lavender.
Yep.
Lavender is very cottagey. Kind of have to have that. Anywhere you have holes in your landscape, little spots where you could add filler material, always using stuff like, say, creeping thyme or like sedum, things that just kind of sit on the ground and just kind of run and bloom on the ground, space fillers. Whenever you're at the very end of your landscape, that's a great way to get that cottage look.
We have to have some stone in there, too.
It would be helpful.
Yep. Let's have some
A
stone.
nicely placed rock is always good.
No, I mean pathways. I'm thinking the pathways.
Oh, the pathways with
yep,
rock.
yep.
I love rock as
Both
a
of
mulch.
them
I
are
mean,
great.
you never have to replace it. That's really
nope,
nice.
low
Yeah, it's
maintenance.
low maintenance. It's expensive on the front end, but it'll save you down the road. I know I've talked about it before. It is certainly not fun to weed rocks.
Nope.
I've got pea gravel as my mulch, and no, my knees hate me.
You should just wear knee pads. You'll look so cool.
You have
Nope.
to have a
Okay.
compost pile in an English garden, too.
Of course.
Absolutely.
There's a lot that goes into it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think
well,
we
in-
described it pretty well.
I mean, I think we.
I think Austin could probably keep going about this because aren't you turning your bed into kind of that vibe a
I've
little
got
bit?
one
on
one side of my bed's going cottagey, for sure, and it's coming
Cottagey.
in.
A cottage creep.
coming. Yeah. That's what they call me.
Cottage is creeping
Cottagey.
in. Cottage
Yeah.
creep.
We've got a
Well,
question.
speaking of a cottage industry,
Or cottage creep.
there's one here in Nashville. A little,
Yes, there is.
It's a little a small business, but one that we're actually really happy about how things are going in Earth Mix Garden Products.
Yep.
And if you're looking for things to grow your plants their very best, look no further than Earth Mix Garden Products. They are sold only at the finest plant sellers, retail garden centers. You won't find them at box stores. So if you are thinking about dropping into one of them, you will not find Earth Mix. And what makes Earth Mix different, apart from the fact that it's 100% organic, it is the finest growing medium as far as productive growth of your plants. You're going to get the best results out of every Earth Mix product, regardless of which one you use. Earth Mix Garden, of course, Josh, is for
the garden, an English one.
Exactly right. It could be an English garden
French
or
one?
cottage garden. If
Dutch?
you're planting
Japanese.
your land,
Oh, yeah.
if you're planting your landscape, what might you use, Josh?
Earth Mix Landscape.
I think that's a great choice.
Yes,
So
it is.
sometimes the names really give a good indication as to what its use is. Other times, not so much. Maybe Supernatural might not be obvious that it is a premium compost product. It also is the basis of many of the other soil products down the line in Earth Mix. So it is a super nutritious. It's not sold as a fertilizer, but your plants don't know that. It's highly fertile, highly naturally productive, a very living compost mix with endo and ectomycorrhiza, fungi,
man.
humic acid. A great product.
Oh, yeah, man.
Of course, if you're going to grow indoor plants, Caroline would likely recommend Proganics Iron. What makes that a great product? There's no peat in it whatsoever.
Nope, it's the Beatles.
So you don't get fungus gnats in your house. You don't have any of that to deal with. And it's a more sustainable approach towards indoor gardening. So no matter which you choose, you can have a great success and great choice of all the Earth Mix garden products. And it's very easy to find. Just simply go to the Find Earth Mix tab on earthmix.net. And when you click there, the whole array of locations will come up across Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, even southern Indiana, southern Ohio, northern Georgia, all the way out in Memphis area, East Tennessee. So
Upper
check that
Alabama.
out. You can put your address in here for turn-by-turn directions to the location nearest you, or simply zoom in on a pin nearest you. Just remember this: success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix garden products. And we appreciate you giving us a moment to discuss how to make your gardening as productive and as easy as possible.
You know the one that confuses me?
What's that, Josh?
Viragra.
Viragra?
Yeah.
Viragra
What's
is
that one?
it's worm castor.
No.
But what it is, unlike many products, it is pure worm castings.
Nobody's stepping on it. Nobody's making additives to it.
As is Magic, the mushroom compost. It is pure, unadulterated mushroom compost. So they are not cheapened by adding inferior ingredients. These are naturally expensive composts on their own. But the Earth Mix approach is to sell them the very finest quality, and let the homeowners get the maximum benefit out of that. So there you go.
All right, we got a question on the Facebook page if we've got time from Joy.
Sure.
Joy says, my redbud got hit by the freeze as well. It looks like the top half of the tree is dead. Can I just top it? It's the purple one that weeps.
Oh. Ruby Falls, maybe.
I think it
that's
was
the
made by
cultivar.
the same guy that created the Rising Sunset. Does that help the
Maybe. I think it's probably Ruby Falls. It's a purple leaf weeper. And yeah, if you saw damage on the top, then yeah, there's not much sense in keeping that. Kind of like I was talking about with the boxwoods earlier. You can certainly keep it if you want, but you're going to have to look at that. So what is good is what we need to be happy about, and we'll keep that. So yeah, you can certainly top it. I know we don't necessarily recommend topping trees or whatever, but this is a much different ornamental weeping style tree. Sometimes you have to do some things with ornamental plants like that if you see issues. And we saw the late freeze or whatever, and it got the topmost part of that plant, and you're not seeing leaves that are coming back from the top. If they're not coming back at this point, they're not going to. So let's go ahead and clear cut that and just play with what we've got, which is you still have life, so that's a good thing.
To be real careful
it's
cutting that top out, not to damage what's below too, right?
Now those are a high graft on those, correct?
Maybe it might be a low graft right around soil line. I'd have to look at it. I don't know,
but depending on where if it's a high graft on that, and you do have leaves pushing out, even if they're further back on the stem, then you could only prune back to that point, and it would grow out from there. Sometimes you need to, for a balance standpoint, take the limb completely out just to make it look more symmetrical. Because you don't want it looking all one-sided. Sometimes you get damage that doesn't give you that option. So it's just another thing to consider.
Let's stay on the topic of redbuds. We've got a question on Instagram. All leaves on our forest pansy redbud planted about 18 months ago, shriveled up 1 to 2 weeks ago.
Okay, this is interesting to me, and I'll tell you what I think it probably is. And this happens whenever deciduous trees wake up in the spring. They have their leaves out, and everything looks fine, and all of a sudden they just crash and they die. This is typically from Ambrosia Beetle. Okay, this is a very nasty pest, highly invasive. It's not even from here. It's an exotic invasive insect pest that was introduced, I want to say, in the 80s, maybe, I think, late 70s, 80s, maybe it came here, and it's getting nothing but worse. We're no different. We have to deal with this as well. We have to, I got in our tree lot last week and with some of our colleagues, and we looked around for signs of Ambrosia beetle, and that's what it is. It's the leaf emergence, and everything looks great, and then an immediate tank of just death. And you can go to your main stem of the plant and look at it, and you'll see pinprick holes all up the main stem of the plant. This is the classic sign of Ambrosia beetle, and it's not actually the beetle that kills the plant. I mean, it technically is, but it's a fungus that's brought in by the beetle that gets into the vascular system of the plant and then kills the plant 100%. Wow. There is no control. You can prevent. If you were really ahead of the game, you could try to prevent, but once the bugs are in there, it's in there, and it's unfortunate, but it's going to go.
Oh my!
And younger trees are decidedly more susceptible than older established trees.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
They love like 1 to 1.5 inch caliper trees. So those ones that we typically buy, they're going to be in that kind of range. That 15-gallon size, 10 to 15-gallon size tree that we plant are the ones that are most susceptible. Why that is, I don't necessarily know. They're not going after big old, established oak trees. They're going after young ones that are out there. So that's what I'm assuming happened to you. So go to your main stem of your plant, see if you see those pinprick holes. If you do, remove that tree and burn it or put it in a trash bag and get rid of it. Unfortunately, that's the only thing to do.
Is it more on deciduous trees, or is it just
almost certainly? Yeah.
Okay.
It's for some reason they're all about our deciduous trees. Our native sassafras right now that live in the woods. We don't even typically sell sassafras all that much. It's not all that much in the trade, but it is a plant that lives here natively like crazy. You go out and look in the woods; it's all over the place. They're getting majorly affected by the Ambrosia beetle. So the state of Tennessee is certainly tracking this. I actually talked to a woman from the state of Tennessee at the Ellington Ag Center, a plant pathologist, and we talked for like 20 minutes about Ambrosia beetle, and it's a thing. It's certainly here. It mainly is spread by like firewood, so that's why you can't like bring firewood into campsites and things like that. It's because of that.
Oh,
Isn't that interesting?
That's very interesting and a little bit sad.
It is sad. Mm-hmm. It sucks whenever you have a tree that's beautiful in the spring and then all of a sudden it just goes.
And there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Gosh.
Let's stop being sad. And move on to our
Let's get happy.
Let's get happy.
happy?
Can I keep my whipcords happy in containers versus in ground?
What was the first?
Whipcords?
Whipcords.
All right, a whipcord is an arborvitae.
Okay.
And it's a cool little variety that has this look.
Looks like
what would
hair.
you call it? It does look like hair. So if you're going to put it in a container, put it in one that's got a face. You know those face containers?
Yes.
Like a head.
The head planters.
Get a head of like Michelangelo and put a whipcord in it.
We actually had some on display in our head concrete
We did.
planters.
It does
down
great
in
for
the
that.
Greenhouse. Yeah.
And it's totally fine to keep that whipcord arborvitae in a pot. Do know when summer comes along, they're thirsty. You cannot let that plant dry out. You can't go on vacation for a week and not water it. You're going to come back to a brown, hairy plant.
Ooh.
So
That's
Pattern
so
baldness,
sad.
as it were.
the old brown hair.
Okay.
The old brown hair.
But no, you can certainly do that. One little tip I can give you, avoid watering that plant in the center of it. For some reason, the center of a whipcord arborvitae wants to go somewhat brown, and that's typical of all arborvitae. In the center of the plant, where the least amount of airflow and sunlight happens, it gets kind of brown on the inside. You've noticed this. Well, whipcord's no different. On the very middle of the plant, you can see some browning with green going out towards the tips. So don't water right in the middle of that on the foliage. Try to go up underneath it if you can, and that'll keep it green more so in the middle, so you have a nice looking plant.
I did search that on the website and show that we. This might give people an idea of what that looks like. I don't know if you can get a good enough shot of that, but it has a very fine.
Looks like Tyler's hair. Tyler's got a
Very
ponytail
fine.
going on.
Okay.
It's a cool,
You're welcome,
cool looking
Tyler.
plant.
Yeah,
Me?
you're making it feel self-conscious.
Yeah.
Look, that's
Ignore
a
that,
demonstration
Tyler.
of if you
Feeling all
put
kinds
this
of
in a
stuff right
head
now.
planter. Now you can see what it looks like. We're giving you a
So
visual.
anyway,
Full
So
sun
there you
for
go.
that one?
Yes, full sun. Full sun is preferred by far.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next question is about hydrangeas, which is a good segue. So David's newsletter this past week was about shade plants. A lot of talk about shade hydrangeas. So we have a question asking north-facing heavy shade up against the house hydrangea ideas.
All right, heavy shade. Let's go with the arborescens type of hydrangea. This is our natives here, okay? I noticed these on my drive home. Up in Jolton, there's a stand of native hydrangea. When I say arborescens, this is your classic, like Annabelle type hydrangea. Y'all have heard me talk about Incredible hydrangea a lot. That's an arborescens type. That's a hybrid, and it's a fantastic plant. And they will bloom in heavy shade. They really will. Wow. The Endless Summer Collection, this is the one we think of, our big leaf hydrangea that has the blue or the pink blooms depending on the pH of your soil. We all love these. Southern Classic, Southern Living Magazine, baby. Pair them with your boxwoods. They're money. But if they don't they want some shade, don't get me wrong, but if they don't have enough sunlight, then they're not going to bloom heavy for you, or the winter's going to be too cold to where they don't leaf out from those old sticks, which is what we want. They're just going to leaf out from the ground, so you end up getting this big green bush with no blooms on it.
That's so sad.
Nothing more annoying than a big green bush
that.
with no blooms.
Yeah.
Yuck.
You're mad about that.
I am mad about it, and this year's going to be a mad year for you all hydrangea growers because most of them did not come back from those sticks.
Yeah, most of mine are from the ground.
From the ground. No blooms this year. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, but next year will just be that much more exciting.
Maybe.
We have that to look forward to.
Maybe.
Well,
Every year's different.
2021 was the year of the hydrangeas.
They were great.
Oh, they were amazing.
Oh,
Was
man.
it 21 or 22? I don't remember. Do you remember, David, way back in?
22.
No, I do remember way back in 21.
It was
a while
21.
back.
I remember
Was
us
it
talking about it.
Yeah.
Was that long ago?
It was.
We've known each other for so long.
Yeah, you talked about, mentioned Annabelle's in all of that discussion there, and easily one of my favorites, if not my favorite, hydrangea, simply because it's one you cut back every year. As you mentioned, it can do sun or shade. I like it personally better in full sun because when it's in heavy shade, it will tend to flop on you a little bit. Once those blooms get out there and get loaded up with water from a midsummer rain downpour, they can really lay down badly. I have a group of 10 planted in a triangular fashion at my house that we cut back.
Isosceles triangle?
I think I call it equilateral.
Oh, okay. Even better. Yeah. Okay.
Not a 45-45-90, but anyway, that's our geometry lesson for the day. So we're gonna cut those back heavily every year, and what you get is a really thick, full regrowth, heavily budded all over the top. And mine are still green, but they're going to be turning white here soon. I like them on the green side before they turn white, the white and the green side that comes after the flowers are fading. So it's a great plant, and it gives you a show for a long period of time.
It does.
While we're on the topic of shady plants, let's take a little tour through the green room, what we brought in here today.
yes.
So we
Do
brought a lot
that.
of shade-loving plants. And as you can see, because you have shade, it doesn't mean you won't have color. And you can also make it look tropical. So we brought these big leaf magnolias, which you'll see behind David's head.
Right there, yeah, right
yes,
there.
I've always
Right
wanted
there.
one. I'm going to buy one day. We got some hosta. Austin, talk about those hydrangea that are back there under the TV.
That's the arborescens type we were
There
just
it
kind of
is.
talking about. Those are the ones that they're getting budded up around your landscape right now and going to be pure white here soon. Just cottage garden as it gets.
It's just your favorite. And then we've got
Gotta
some
have
hosta and heuchera in front. And one of my new favorites that we got in recently that I bought is Dancing Queen, which is the yellow on each end.
Wonder why you like that.
Because there's a dancing queen in the room.
You're not just
who's
an
not
ABBA
me,
fan.
Austin. I don't know if anyone knows this, but Austin does love to dance. They call him
ABBA?
Dancing Queen on the lot. It's wild. So you'll have to come out here and see him bust out some of those moves. It's
Yeah.
amazing. You
Don't-
wouldn't think that, but it
Don't-
happens all the time.
Don't hold your breath on that.
Yeah, it's only before hours, before we open. And then on our side, Sun King Aurelia, which I believe is one of Austin's favorite
Gotta
plants
talk
that
about
he's
this
got.
a little bit.
Let's talk about it.
Sun King Aurelia, chartreuse foliage in the shade. My God, it's a growing machine, people.
Really?
Machine from the ground. It does not come back from the
So
sticks
intense about
whatsoever. I am.
Show it off,
because
Austin.
you just cut
Get
it to
those
the
hands in
dirt. Okay, here.
Yeah.
Look, tropical foliage. It does bloom later in the season. It's not like the showiest plant on earth, but like I said, it's a growing machine. Mine already is like 2.5, 3 feet tall from the ground.
Oh my gosh!
And wide. I mean,
one of the great things about all of the plants that we've got on display, both in front of you guys and here in front of Josh and Tyler and I, is that you get a vast array of color that has little to do with the flower.
That's right.
We've got a few flowers behind us here, but you've got great contrast in not just in colors but in textures, and those are what really create interest in the landscape. Is not just blooms. It's a whole lot easier to have colorful foliage because you tend to get that throughout the season, as opposed to flowers that come on and they're only on for their time of the year. So it's really great to have a good mixture of those contrast and colorful and textures of foliage in addition to flowers.
The one on the outer right, stage right on the outside, and on stage left on the outside. Is that the same plant as the one you showed?
Yeah, those there,
okay.
yes.
It's just different heights, okay.
And look at them in a little 1 gallon. They're already wanting to be, they look like 3 gallon size already. They're monsters.
They are monsters.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful monsters.
And like
it
David
brings
said,
you a bright spot into the shade area. I mean, it's just beautiful.
They do. So get all your filler material in first in that shade bed with all your colors and textures with your foliage, and then if you want to add flowers later, find those holes in the spot for your annuals. Okay, let's not forget about our sun-loving annuals. Coleus, impatiens, New Guinea impatiens have excellent flower power.
Shade loving.
For the shade, so we can fill in later with those. But get your textures and colors in, and make sure you have space for Sun King Aurelia, because that thing is no joke.
I might buy some today.
I'm telling you.
You've been telling me I need it for a long time.
How would that match with
tell us how good it is in one word, Austin.
Money.
Okay, all right.
You're so passionate about this plant.
I love it.
It's wild.
I love it. It was the perennial plant of the year, I think, in like 2021 or 2020.
Wow.
So there you go.
How big does it get?
By the end of the season, 5 feet tall.
Wow.
Whoa.
From the dirt, people. And this is like 3 to 4 feet wide, too. It's a big, large growing shrub. So this is your backdrop for sure of, this ain't the front of the bed, out in front of Boxwoods or something. They're going to take it over. So make this your kind of backdrop. Now, I do know you have to not have any foliage over the wintertime. Whenever frost comes, they literally just turn to mush.
Will it tolerate some sun?
Yes, some.
Yeah, some.
I've got some. My shade bed is like a ish shade bed because as summer draws on, like late in the day, it gets just pounded with that intense sun. So as summer draws on, the topmost foliage of my Sun King Aurelia does not like me. It is mad at me for that. So I noticed that last year, but I can deal with that. Once fall draws on and the sun gets less intense, I can kind of cut out the tops of the most burned foliage and then still enjoy it.
Attitude, Bush. I'll cut you.
That's right.
Yeah. I'll get you. Okay, let's talk about boxwoods again.
Okay.
Who's excited? Everybody. How can I cut a boxwood before I ruin it? It's 6x6 now, and I need it to be 3x6 if possible.
Good Lord.
6x6.
That's a big giant boxwood.
Yeah, are you going for a tall, skinny, or a short, wide? I don't know which way the dimensions
seems
are
like
being
short
expressed.
wide. The way, so 3x6 is what they wanted to get.
What the height?
We should have probably already done this, probably like February time, to get it back down into check. That way, those new buds that are down below can flush, and it won't look, stemmy and stupid on top. So if you do it now, it's gonna look
stemmy and stupid.
Yeah, it kind of is
on top.
Stemmy
on
and
top.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Let's write that down.
Like I said, February's the typical time to do it if you're going to. So maybe let's wait this season. Maybe just wait till next year and then give it go down to that 3 foot mark and just cut it. Just live with it. Just love it. It's gonna be fine.
And that's one of my greatest pet peeves in trimming in general is getting it done behind the curve. I should say, you really want to. You'll get much better results if you can get it done early before there's any new growth coming out, regardless of what we're talking about. That way, all of the stored up energy from the dormant season gets all pushed at one time, and you attain every bit of that. It seems like I have some large magnolias around at my home, but we can never seem to get the timing out where that the arborist can get out to trim them early enough. They've already flushed before we get them trimmed, so consequently, it takes them a lot longer to start looking like something. So I hate that aspect of it, but were that able to be done, as Austin said, in February or certainly in March, you get around all of losing that first flush of growth and all the energy that goes with it. It'll fill in a lot faster the first year. In many things, it's always better, or it's frequently better to wait until the next season.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
CC.
Hey, while we're stopped here for a moment, let's talk about where we are. We're at Bates Nursery and Garden
Yes,
Center.
we are.
And we've been beautifying Nashville since 1932.
Yes,
and you see, we've got our website up there that's scrolling with the pictures back and forth. By the way, our web store is again open on weekends. We need to remind folks that you can place an order on the web over the weekend, but we don't fill those until the first of the week. So just, you cannot place an order. You cannot place an order and drive straight out and pick it up on weekends for certain, anytime actually, but it does take us a while. And of course, things are still quite busy. We want to give everyone the very best service. And if you're standing here buying stuff, you have our attention. So web orders, we time shift those off the best we can to try to deal with those in the early morning hours. But in the weekends, we just don't have time. But what we do have time for is for you to come out and see us and see our vast array of plant material. The expertise, just like we have here on the show, is widely available throughout our entire staff of horticulturalists. And we've got an incredible staff of folks who can not only help you look at your unique landscape situation, help you to get the right plants in the right place the first time, help you to get a kind of a strategy together. And if you've got photographs you can bring with you on your telephone, your smartphone or your tablet, bring those along, and it'll give us some insight to what you're working on and help us to get better view of what you're trying to do and what you're dealing with. So bring that out. Come on out and see us. We're open 7 days a week this time of year. We're open Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., noon to 4 on Sunday. So come out and see us. And even though it's raining, you can come out, step inside our front checkout area. You'll immediately go into Caroline's realm where all the tropicals are. You can proceed straight on through across the shade area into the perennials and annuals and never be out in the rain. So come on out and check that out. I did do an article this week about shade gardening called La Sombra. And of course, that's Spanish for the shade. And La Sombra is a subject that's very near and dear to our hearts here at Bates Nursery, simply because it's one of the most difficult landscape situations to work with. So if you've got shade in your landscape situation, make sure you come see us, because we have a selection second to none. Bates Nursery and Garden Center. We're a proud seller of the entire line of Earth Mix garden products, including all bulk materials. So check that out, batesnursery.com, or better yet, come see us. Bates Nursery and Garden Center, beautifying Nashville since 1932. We appreciate you giving us a moment to discuss that. All right, Josh.
I love it here. I love it.
It's great here.
I do.
I love it
we
here
all
too.
like it
Me
here.
too.
It's a fun place to be.
They usually have some nice music playing as you're shopping.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Oh, there I am.
You can walk
Hi.
around.
Hello.
I mean, even when it would be raining, you can dodge back under these areas.
It also sounds
cases.
amazing when
Yes,
it's
it
raining when you're
does.
in the houses.
Yep, sure.
And I'm
does.
We
lucky
need
to be
hammocks.
covered.
I think we need hammocks to go between the posts when it
We
starts raining.
absolutely
David.
do.
Sounds
All right.
great.
I just went
I
ahead
was
and
all
ordered
about it.
those.
New break room. Okay.
It's for our guests only, not
Oh,
for the
man.
employees.
All right.
Sorry.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Well, they call them cobbles.
That's understandable.
It is. We would all be in those hammocks. All right, so we've got a question that Dancing Queen over here is real excited about answering. A good small specimen tree or standard for a small full sun front yard to flank a walkway.
Okay.
Take it away.
Oh, well, Josh has his hand
Josh
up.
has his hand way up.
He's excited too. What, Josh?
Never mind.
What?
Those little baby ginkgos like I bought.
That's what I was going with.
Oh.
You just stole it.
Oh, good thing we're on two separate
Sharing
sides of the
brain,
room.
guys.
I
That's
tell you
pretty
what, though.
awesome.
I
This
tell
is a
you what, though.
passionate show today.
Josh is not wrong about that. Little tree form ginkgos. They are beautiful, y'all. They've swelled out their foliage. They've got the most interesting foliage of maybe any tree in the wild. I mean, they've got the best yellow fall color in nature by far. And they sell them now as a little standard. Not now, they have been. But it's just a little, what I like to say, a bush on a stick. And it's a stem that goes up, and you got a bush atop of that. I've got one at my house. It is in a very small space with annuals planted underneath it. Look at that foliage. There we go. Look at that foliage. Oh.
Josh, is that yours that you got last week?
That is actually one of the two. Now, this is the question that I had about it. Now, if we go back to the first image, you see the shape of the foliage there, and then image number 2?
Yeah, I think
this is coming from the base.
That's coming from the base. That's below the graft.
Okay.
Okay, so that'll be a different plant altogether. Cool. Still a ginkgo, but it's different. You know what you should do, Josh? Is take some cuttings of that, buddy. Definitely cut it off because it's making it not look all that great.
Be a lot better if you wanted to grow that is to air layer that. So that means getting roots on it before you remove it. And that way you're going to have a much better chance.
I'm down.
If
so I got 2 for 1 on my purchase with that one, too.
That's the old twofer.
Hey.
You get that a lot out here.
If you don't deal with it, what's going to happen is it will overtake the rest of it.
It will.
You need to keep those pruned out in order to let the top push properly.
Yeah, because David's right. That sucker growth will outgrow the top. It certainly will. Yep. But yeah, there's a lot of tree form options, y'all, but that's just one we're going with. But it is super cool. They're not.
We have to name those today, too, by the way.
All right, we should.
Yes.
No, that's your job, Josh. No.
Just name it Josh and David. There you go. Easy
now we had
peasy
Simon and
perfect.
Garfunkel and Michael and Harry, but I'm thinking since they're ginkgo bilobas, maybe we go with a Hobbit type of theme.
Okay.
Maybe Bilbo and Frodo.
All right.
Okay.
Perfect.
Do it.
There you go.
Nailed
You
it.
figured it out.
I bet you we got more questions.
We definitely do have more questions. Let's talk about lamb's ear, which is a plant I love.
Okay.
A lot of people here don't love it. My lamb's ear are browning and dying back. Fungus, full sun. It was happy last year. So I find that mine does this from time to time. And it is when it gets too much moisture, when we get a lot of rain and it stays in there, it will kind of rot in the center, but I just pull that out. And I find that the years that mine, that I haven't separated it for a few years and it's clumping and it's overgrowing and too crowded is when this tends to happen. So that's usually a sign that you might need to separate it. It was really happy last year, so it grew a lot, and now it's just too close together. That family got too happy and it's rotten out a little bit. But with me, like I said, it's really easy to control. I'll just pull out all that dead stuff, and within a few days, I don't see it anymore, and it starts to grow back pretty quickly. But my lamb's ear is one of my favorite plants.
But if you want to have a real
pet
plant, they're nice to pet.
They are. They really are.
They have
sensory.
It's like having a little puppy or a little kitty, or I guess a little lamb for that matter.
Yes.
Yeah, like having a little lamb.
Yeah,
and
you
it's
can
gorgeous.
pet it, and it just sits there and doesn't do it.
Lambs eat oats.
And it's not bad.
Doesn't poop.
Yeah, that too. So I think it's time
Those eat oats.
to talk
Little
about
lambs
something.
eat ivy.
Come on, bring it.
Bring it.
Are you talking about
What's in bloom?
with Austin? Is that what we're talking about?
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
All right, things are blooming, y'all. Lots of stuff for blooming right now. I'm giving you a rundown of what I've got. To all your annuals, if you bought annuals, you're good. Thank you. I love when people buy annuals as filler.
Thank you.
Good work. So all of
good.
our annuals, I got petunias in bloom, y'all. Petunias, love them. Next up, Caroline showed me a picture of her milkweed today. The orange,
Yep.
what's that common name? Orange,
Tuberosa.
butterfly weed. Yeah, tuberosa, butterfly weed, milkweed, whatever it is. It's pure orange.
It's gorgeous.
Which you don't get to see in the landscape all that much. Just like absolute orange. So great for the monarch butterflies. Got to have it. Those are certainly blooming. Salvia, blooming blue. We got red hot poker. Always cool. Yellows and oranges on that. Looking great. One that's not necessarily great, but it is certainly beautiful, and that's Mexican primrose. Have y'all seen all these little dainty pink blooms?
I do love it.
That
I
are
know
just
it's kind of bad.
spreading over the earth and covering it.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
Mexican primrose. That is a very invasive plant, but it is certainly gorgeous.
Look like little baby poppies.
They
Yeah.
do. Baby like hugging the ground, poppies, little pink everywhere.
Hugging the ground. Babies hugging the ground.
Babies hugging the ground in that pink.
All
They're
over.
beautiful, but be careful with them. Be very
They
careful.
will take over.
Asiatic lilies showing blooms. As beautiful as can be. My God, they come back from bulbs. Big old huge.
I have a mass of them now after
Good
planting
looking,
one.
really good. Yours are yellow, and they're really,
Mine are
really
yellow.
pure, pretty. Honeysuckle is a vine, our native one that's just going nuts all over town right now. Clematis, mine is beautiful, y'all. Beautiful, just purple blooms. On mine, there's a number of different colors, but clematis is certainly going off. Your roses are starting to go nuts, as I'm sure you can tell. Knockouts especially. Certainly getting great. Spirea, that old school classic shrub, as good filler material. Certainly going off right now. Oak leaf hydrangea just started. I'm going to be talking about hydrangea for weeks here, y'all, so settle
my
in
goodness, gorgeous.
because this is the first sign of it. I saw my first oak leaves this morning driving in. Rhododendron did not bloom as great as it usually does, but they are in bloom right now. They got a little bit affected by that cold I think we had, so they're not as showy as usual, but they're certainly showing some color at the moment. Hey, you know what else? Coosa dogwood's still going nuts.
Yep.
Beautiful. Magnolias are big evergreen trees. Southern classic magnolias. Huge, big as your head bloom. Smells fantastic. Those are popping off right now. And then a big shout out to my wife, Jilly. Hopefully you're watching with the kids right now. The big catalpa trees. Y'all.
Oh, wow.
You ever heard of a catalpa tree? You see them big old trees that are blooming right now? Big old heart-shaped leaves. I mean, leaves huge. Big, massive trees that bloom white all across every bit of it. My wife loves these trees. She's been wanting one for years. I'm going to have to buy one. But they are gorgeous this year. I mean, there's a big one. Like 5 minutes up the road from me, there's a big one. Y'all need to drive by just to see it.
Is that the one with the Indian cigars, David?
Yes,
Yes.
and that's the ones that we used to smoke as when we were kids. They're not
So
not very
that's what it
smooth,
is.
I'll tell you that.
Okay.
And we never could find a menthol version of it. So,
That's what happened to y'all.
They are a harsh smoke. Those
Yeah.
as we called them as a kid, Indian cigars.
Uh-huh.
They're,
Indian
fish
bean
bait,
tree.
and they grow
akin-
the best fish bait.
Yeah, that's
also.
what fishermen
Yeah.
say.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
the worms that get on them. There's a specific insect pest that gets on catalpa trees, and that's used for fishing. And supposedly it's great. But I tell you what, they are lovely and in full show right now. Absolute full show. There is no other large tree. I'm talking 60-foot trees, y'all, like big ones that bloom from top to bottom.
That's a big old
Like,
tree.
That is a big old tree, and they're beautiful. So
yeah, and
there
they
you go.
do live quite a long time.
We've got a
It's
couple
not-
on. We
not
have a couple
unusual.
on our street that need to be taken away.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
they
They got too big.
What are you talking about?
Well, I mean,
we taking them away?
I'd say it this well. I mean, it's the caliper is probably 8 feet across and
Nice.
probably 14 feet tall. It's a little long in the tooth.
Yeah, well,
And it's
one of
ri-
the things that people I think it's easy to neglect is, and and at the early part of the show, Austin mentioned that we don't like to talk about topping trees, but if
Yeah.
they can be pruned correctly, you can extend the life of a tree greatly by bringing it back down a little bit. When you have these long arching branches, they are wind bait.
Yep.
That is to say that the wind can just whip them, and you're really asking for a tree when you put that much sail out there in the wind, so to speak. It's going to be a lot more susceptible to getting damaged, split out, blown over, in high wind situation. If you guys remember how it was in March this year,
Yeah.
we had a lot of tree damage. That could be mitigated greatly by just doing, generally on large trees like that, it may be 3 to 7 years that you might need to do some pruning on it, or maybe even longer. But to let it go for years and years and years is it's kind of like Russian roulette. It's eventually something bad's going to happen. You're just allowing it to happen. Arborist work is not cheap by any respect, but it's worthwhile. So consider doing that, even if you've got to spend some money on it. So that's my little
There you go.
preacher moment.
And that's what's in bloom
Yep.
with Austin.
Nailed it.
Way to go, Austin.
Okay.
My peonies actually bloomed this year for the first time.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, gorgeous.
Wow.
For about 3 days?
Oh no, I've still got blooms, but I
Nice.
mean,
Mine got destroyed.
this
in the
big
rain.
around. I mean, just
Hey.
absolutely gorgeous.
Hi.
So I think it's time for our Saturday shout out before
Shout
we
out.
lose time. I know Tyler's got some photos loaded on up for y'all.
Let's do it. I want to see them.
Well, first of all, let's give a little score. He said it was covered, literally covered
and
in
we've
those
got a
little
cobbler.
cobbler.
Look,
to eat.
look how clean that foliage is. Also, now here's something
Yeah.
worth mentioning about. Of course, serviceberry is in the apple family, and there is. It's just we also have a lot of cedar trees, which are actually a juniper. There is a pathogen that passes back and forth between them: cedar, apple, rust. And every other year, Adam tends to have a really great crop, given that this pathogen alternates back and forth. It looks very different on an apple tree type, be it serviceberry or other apple, than it does on a cedar tree, but it goes back and forth.
Clean
So
this year, though.
typically, it couldn't be more wonderful.
Wow.
Look at that.
Oh,
he said he
gorgeous.
He told
The
me,
color
Yeah,
is
too.
incredible. Yeah.
and I mentioned it already, 2 gallons of berries off of it. Plus, he said there's at least another gallon he can't reach.
Yeah.
So
Good thing Adam's a patient man.
And then there's the results.
Wow.
There's the fruits
The
of the
cobbler
labor.
we about to eat.
hurt me.
I bet he probably
I don't
took
eat sweets.
3
but boy,
hours.
That's wonderful.
Can't
So,
imagine picking all those tiny berries.
I'm going to have to skip over Josh's ginkgo pictures here because
Okay.
they're all in the row. Okay, here we go. The Saturday
English.
shout out. Donna Brooks.
Oh,
Donna!
wow. That is
Beautiful.
amazing.
Yes, whoops.
Oh,
Talk about a cottage garden field.
buddy.
Yeah, baby.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm in
Donna,
love with that.
Donna said she sent in this little honey
little
Oakley
honey.
hydrangea that
that
she
is so
got
good
from
to
us.
see.
And look at that color.
the
That's
chartreuse
cool.
foliage.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Little honey is an
Now I
oak
need
leaf
one of
hydrangea.
those.
Yeah.
Do
that
we
has
have
that-
it right now?
Not right now. We don't have it right now.
We had it last year.
Oh yeah, we've had it every year pretty
Yeah.
much since I've been here. It's just it's a little bit less known, but look at that little
Look at that
honey.
pathway.
You could see it
that
tucked back in there, I
column.
think.
Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, I see it back
Beautiful.
off in there.
Yeah.
It's got your lavender in there. Got
Got
your
it.
hydrangeas in there.
Oh, zooming in. Look at the pot. You got to
Yep.
add pots for like
Yep,
little
yep,
potted
yep.
plants around. Just help.
Yep.
Yeah.
It does look
Some
like.
creeping Jenny.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I like it.
Uh-huh.
Got
And
like
also,
that. look, we have-
when you
we have
make
uplights
paths-
as
Waterfall.
well. Yep.
oh, look
Is that
at that.
a waterfall I see?
Yep, I see it.
Dang.
So
Well done.
when you make
Well done.
pathways, one ways to add great interest is to create a bend in the path
Oh yeah.
and
Yes.
and lead people.
It almost looks like a thread
Lace
branch
leaf?
cypress
guess
or
so.
something. Is that thread branch
Hard to
cypress in the
tell.
shade and it's just kind of thin? I need to know.
Yeah.
Donna. Is
Gotta
that
know.
Donna, right?
Yeah,
Donna.
Donna.
Got it
Donna,
out.
tell me what's in that pot now. I like that.
Oh,
Oh man.
Because the
No.
right shape of pot and the right shape of tree matched together looks really nice. Oh,
That's a great looking garden.
absolutely.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
bet you
that
walk
was
down that
fantastic.
daily.
So,
I
yeah,
would.
so
Sleep out there.
send those in to us, folks.
That's
and,
where you need the hammock.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. baby.
All right, so let's get a couple more questions in before we run out of time. Roma tomato hating life, brown all in the bottom and green up top. Anything I can do to help it?
Print off them lower leaves. A lot of times tomatoes have rough looking lower leaves, okay? They're not doing much. If you have green on top, that's a good sign, okay? If you had brown on top and they were hating life up top, then I'd say just remove that whole plant and start over. Or just deal with what you got. But lower leaves need to be removed. Don't be afraid. If they're yellow or brown and they look rough, just get rid of them. We don't need them. They're just going to cause issues later. So, yep, get rid of
All right.
those.
So what about holes in peppers and strawberry leaves?
Certainly
did they
probably
treat
a
them?
pest. Some sort of pest getting on them. Holes in leaves are almost always insect related. Get out there and look at it. Turn those leaves over to the back sides of the leaves. Look at them.
Slugs.
See what's on there. Could be slugs. Slugs are
Slugs.
funny because they make like really irregular holes. You know, like caterpillars make very specific holes. Like they're cut perfectly almost. Slugs and snails have totally different. They're like chomp marks. Okay, so that's kind
sounds
of the
kinda
difference
cute.
with those. But you need to get out and look at your plants, see what's going on, see if we need to get some sprays going, or if we can just organically take care of it by just hand pruning. Hand taking off insect pests. So.
Insects. And lastly, is it too late to plant tomatoes and okra?
What time is it?
I don't.
Absolutely not.
3:30. There's Josh talking about the time.
No.
I'm planting some today.
They're not really kicking off yet. I mean, might have been in the ground a couple of weeks, and they're doing fine, but they're just not.
And for what it's
busting,
worth,
you know?
we still have a great selection
Yeah.
of vegetable plants. I mean,
do.
a tremendous selection. If you pretty much any kind of tomato you can think of, and
Dahlia, yes.
peppers, and a whole assortment. I'm not sure what we have in okra right this minute, but this is really, we're just getting in. The okra is a hot weather vegetable garden plant, and it doesn't really do much until it gets consistently hot. But when it gets hot,
It explodes.
you need to pick it twice a day.
Seriously, it gets
I mean,
so
if you
big
want-
so
if you
quick.
wanna- it's incredible.
Uh-huh.
So, because it'll hide from you too. It's so
Yep.
stealthy. Those, you'll look at, you'll not see one on there, and by the end of the afternoon, it's 18
inches
You go,
long,
How
yeah.
did that?
Yep.
How did that happen?
Uh-huh.
It's amazing. So,
It is.
yep.
All
Keep
right.
on planting.
Keep
It's a
on
good
planting.
time.
We've got one from Colin, who I think I asked his question, and he said it was probably the initial one was a little too broad, but he said we ended up getting a peach tree from you all. Many online sources say that I need to spray it basically all the time with Captan to keep it from forming fungus and to protect it from certain bugs. Is that true, or are there any organic alternatives? If not, are products that y'all would recommend or a regimen that would work well?
Captan.
Captan's a
Captan's
fungicide.
a fungicide. Yeah,
been around forever. It's not going to help you
Not going to do anything on
for
pests.
bugs. Yeah, you're right, but it'll certainly help for the fungus. I mean, you've probably never eaten an organic peach, and there's a reason for that. Bugs and fungus absolutely love peaches. So to actually get a good amount of peaches, you kind of have to do that if you want to keep them clean anyway. You can certainly grow an organic peach at your house, though. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. And some years the fruit will finish, some years it won't. It just kind of depends on how much effort you want to give to it. But if you do Captan, within the first couple months, it'll help.
Because we're kind of just on the top north edge of peach production too, aren't we? Yeah, we're really more.
They can go up more north than us.
Okay.
Hey, you know what that music means?
I think it's time to get out of here.
Oh man.
Yeah, we got to go. Hey, that went fast, guys.
Yes, it did.
Thoroughly
Too
enjoyed it
fast
today.
Okay, but you know what? We can come back next week and do another show if y'all want.
Absolutely.
To. Is that okay with everybody? We're
I
all
think
gonna be
that's
here?
all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we want to thank everybody that participated out there in the cyber world and watching us on Facebook or YouTube, or you can actually take a link at the old Tweeter machine, because if you follow me, you can see that link come up. But wherever you see us, like, subscribe, share. Let the whole world know, so we can do the at-home show for everybody on planet Earth, because that's what we're here for, David. We're servants of the people, aren't we, David Bates?
We are here to serve, so thank you for tuning in.
We'll see you next Saturday from the Green Room Studios here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. See you then.